So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS YouTube channel. So in this live session we will be talking about the Indian Express of the weekend as well as Mondays. So let's start our discussion, and I'm sorry for the delay, there was some kind of technical glitch. So let's start. We'll start with the practice question and then we move forward with these important articles, that is elections and the state funded media. So we will see that recently there was this you can say incident which has happened, that two opposition leaders were made to do some changes in their speech. So basically we will be talking about that, what is the rules regarding the use of state funded media in the time of election. Then there is this, why are orcas sinking the boats? There is this particular species belonging to your dolphin family. What they are doing is that they, in the area of, you can say, Strait of Gibraltar, they are actually turning the boats. Okay, so we will see why it is happening and what researchers are saying about it. Okay, then third thing will be the India's climate policy. Okay, so we will be talking about that because there was this article in the explain section, so we will be talking about that as well. Other than that, we will discuss a question for your MCQ practice. Then we will be wrapping up the session. Okay, in here you have this front page of the today's Indian Express. There is this chopper crash in Iran, President Raisi is missing, search operations are on. Now there was this particular incident which has happened because of the bad weather, etc. They had to go for the emergency landing, but unfortunately that landing led into a crash, and right now there are these you can say news articles which are coming that he is dead now. So basically that is important thing when we are talking about Iran, because considering the area which is already in some kind of chaos, so this event becomes you can say important for us to take a note of. Okay, so let's see the practice question here. Which of the following bodies of water separates Kachchativu Island from mainland India? When we are talking about this Kachchativu Island is a kind of a disputed territory between India and Sri Lanka. India says that this is island belonging to us, but it was given to Sri Lanka in 1974. Okay, by the then Prime Minister, but now there are these discourses that we are trying to get it back. Okay, so that is one thing about Kachchativu, and recently there was many, you can say, incidents which has happened with respect to the the fishermen community which are living over there. Okay, so that is about Kachchativu Island, and it is between India and Sri Lanka, and the water body separating that is Park Strait. Okay, option C is your right answer. Hold on a second. Okay, so let's move further and start our discussion with one important article which was there in the explain section, and we have taken the page number, and it is from the 18th of May, that is Saturday. Okay, so let's see the article. Rules for political parties to use state funded media during the polls. Okay, so there are certain rules which has been made by ECI, and these media houses, or you can say when we are talking about the government funded media, that is your Doordarshan, All India Radio under Prasar Bharati. So these are certain government owned media which can be used during the elections, and every party which will be given a dedicated time slot in which they can make their speech and they can address the nation. Okay, now there is this incident wherein two leaders, one is from the Communist Party of India and second is from the All India Forward Bloc, they have been asked to make some changes during their address because they have mentioned something which was not allowed by the Prasar Bharati here. Okay, so they had to delete reference to the electoral bond scheme, drop the items on the communal authoritarian regime, and the draconian laws replaced the word bankruptcy of government with failure of governance. Okay, so basically these are certain things which they were asked to tweak, and they were made to change it, and they have removed the word Muslim from his speech about the Citizenship Amendment Act. Now you don't have to remember the name of the leader, etc., but the thing is there are certain rules which has to be followed, and when the Prasar Bharati was asked about it, Prasar Bharati is a you can say organization which is taking care of this Doordarshan as well as the All India Radio. Okay, So when we are talking about the All India Radio and Doordarshan, they are under the supervision of Prasar Bharati. Okay, so Prasar Bharati, when they were asked about it, they said that we are simply following the rules set by the Election Commission of India regarding the use of state controlled media by recognized political party during elections. Okay, they simply said that we are just following the rules. Second thing is, Prasar Bharati is India's state-run public broadcaster and the parent organization of Doordarshan and All India Radio. Now, this particular statement becomes important for you. They can ask you in prelims. Okay. Then coming to the time allocation in the state media, when we are talking about the elections, how the time will be allotted. So, when we are talking about the recognized political parties, okay, be it your national political parties or state political party, there are certain rules which has to be national or regional. Okay, so for them there is a particular time which is allocated by the Prasar Bharati to them, and accordingly they have to actually address the country. Okay, so when we are talking about the national parties, there is a minimum of 10 hours together to all the national parties. When we are talking about national parties, we have 6 national parties as of now. Okay, they will be given 10 hours, okay, and they will be given 15 hours for the All India Radio. Okay, so these are the two things. So minimum of 10 hours to telecast time Doordarshan's national channel and 15 hours on the regional channel. Okay, so that is a different thing, but 10 hours on the national, you can say Doordarshan, and then 15 hours for the different regional channels. Okay, then there will be 15 hours of the broadcasting of All India Radio, that is you can say regional All India radio stations. Okay, so that is separate for AIR. Okay, so this is there. Other than that, when we are talking about the state parties, there is similar rule. When we are talking about the state parties, all the state parties together will get 30 hours of telecast on their appropriate regional channel. Okay, so here 30 hours of the broadcast on the regional Doordarshan channel and All India radio stations. Okay, so this is the, you can say, way they divide the time allocation. Okay, so again I will tell you one thing is, when we are talking about the national parties will be getting 10 hours on the, you can say, national media, national Doordarshan, and 15 hours on the regional ones. Okay, and then they will be getting 15 hours on the All India Radio. Then when we are talking about these state parties, they will get 30 hours altogether, and they will get this on the regional, appropriate regional channels. Okay, now coming to the national parties, there are 6 national parties, as I told you, the name is given, and please remember these names, that can be important. One is Aam Aadmi Party, second is BSP, BJP, CPIM, Congress, and the Conrad Sangma's National People's Party. Okay, so these are the 6 parties which are right now national parties. Okay, other than that there are various regional parties. Okay, now when we are talking about the 2024 election this time, so each national party has been given 45 minutes on the national television or Doordarshan when we say. Okay, so they are given 45 minutes each. Okay, so that will amount to 4.5 hours, and the remaining 5.5 hours will be divided upon the performance of party in the 2019 Lok Sabha election. Okay, on the basis of that they will be allocated the remaining time. So that is about it. 45 minutes each has been given to all the national parties, and then remaining time will be divided as per the performance in the Lok Sabha election 2019. Okay, now content of the speech. Now this is the important part for us, and all these things are fine, but the thing is, this is important, and second thing is, this particular paragraph was important for us, and the name of the 6 national parties. Now when we are talking about the content, the script, which, or you can say script of the address, is to be submitted 3 to 4 days before before the recording by the authorities to the Prasar Bharati or the Doordarshan. And now these Doordarshan stations and AIR stations, they will go through this particular you can say content of the script, and they will decide as per the rule set up by the ECI. Okay, now ECI's guidelines forbid criticism of other countries, attack on religious or communities, anything obscene or defamatory, incitement of violence, anything amounting to contempt of court, aspirations against the integrity of president and the judiciary, anything affecting the unity, sovereignty and the integrity of the nation, and any criticism by name of any person. Okay, so these are certain things which has been forbidden, so please remember this particular thing. Okay, ECI's guidelines forbid that you cannot criticize any particular country, okay, because we have friendly relations. If we, then they might get hampered. Second is attack on the religion or the communities, anything obscene or defamatory, incitement of violence, anything amounting to contempt of court, aspirations against the president and the judiciary, and anything affecting the unity, sovereignty, integrity of India, and anyone criticizing anyone by name of a person. So all these things are basically forbidden. Okay, and accordingly Prasar Bhatri has said that we have asked the leaders to replace these things. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Now we can move further to the next article. Okay. Okay. Now, why orcas sinking the boats? Are they playing or they are angry? Now, why I have taken this article? Because recently there is this trend. UPSC is asking about the animal behavior. Okay, so they have asked this question that which of the following can say species live together in a group, or which of them can make a bridge with their hands. Okay, or you can say woodwork with their hands. Okay, so all these animal behaviors they are asking. So similarly I have taken this question. Okay, other than that, recently there was this activity which has happened in the Strait of Gibraltar, and it is not the first time. It has been happening since 2020, and there have been more than 700 incidents, such incidents which are happening in there. So we can say that is kind of a trend, or that is kind of a habit of these orcas. So basically we will talk about this. Okay, here in the picture you can see this is an orca. Okay, and this belongs to dolphin family. Normally these animals are not very violent. Okay, they are very peaceful animals. Okay, as dolphins you must have heard about them. But recently there was this trend that what they are doing is that they are hitting the bottom of a boat. Let's say there is a yacht. Okay, they are hitting the bottom of this particular boat or the yacht until they put a hole in it, and these boats are started sinking. Okay, this particular activity is happening on nearby area of Strait of Gibraltar. You must have heard about it. This is the basically area which is connecting Europe and Africa. Okay, so this is Strait of Gibraltar is there, and please go through, I forgot to put the map over here, please go through the world map and you can find out this particular place. Okay, nearby Morocco you will find it. So Strait of Gibraltar, that is important for you. They can ask you about this particular thing. Okay, now coming to this particular article, 2 people were rescued on May 12th after a group of orcas, also known as killer whales. Okay, killer whales. So these killer whales sank their 15-meter long sailing yacht in the Strait of Gibraltar near coast of Morocco. Okay, and this is not an isolated incident. Since 2020 there have been more than 700 incidents wherein there has been this interaction between the boats and the orcas. Okay, near the Strait of Gibraltar, that is happening in that particular area. Now one thing about these dolphins, or you can say these orcas, is there that they pick up the trends. Okay, when we are talking about a toddler, there is 6 to 7 years of a toddler. What they will do is they will like a habit, they will perform those things until unless they get bored out of it. Okay, so similarly these orcas, these killer whales, they also have the same thing, that they will pick up a habit. Okay, and if they started enjoying it, they will do it for a while until unless they get bored of it. So that can be a one thing because of which such incidents can be happening. Okay, so that is an interesting thing for us to follow. Then here you can say, owing to the high frequency of the interactions, it becomes a multinational issue. And other than that, when we are talking about, this can be an environmental issue, this can be an ecological issue as well. Okay, and ultimately obviously this will harm the life of many people. It will put life of many people at risk, as well as the life of these whales at the risk. Okay, so it is yet to ascertain that why these orcas have been targeting the boat. Reason is not known yet, but there are 2 prominent theory, that one, they are playing around, second, they are angry. Okay, so let's see why they are playing around. One thing, as I told you, they have this behavior like a toddler, that if they like something, they start doing it and they keep doing it until they get bored. Okay, so that can be a one behavior, they can ask you about it. So recently what has happened, these you can say frequency of boats has been there. So there are high chances that they started liking this, they started liking the interaction with these people, and ultimately they are playing with these boats, and since they are massive in size, and because of which they are ultimately letting these boats sink. Okay, so that is one theory. that orcas are playing around. Okay, a part of dolphin family, orcas, which measure up to 8 meters and they are 6 tons as an adult. When we are talking about the weight, they are up to 6 tons as an adult, and highly intelligent and the curious mammals. Okay, so this is, dolphins are mammals, please remember that. Okay, and they are not known to be aggressive. As I told you in the start, they are not violent or aggressive, but obviously these incidents are happening, so we are trying to find out the reason. Now they are targeting boats that could just be a form of play or a fed behavior initiated by one or two orcas individual and then temporarily picked up by the other ones. Okay, so what has happened, that one or two orcas might have liked doing this, and that behavior has been picked up by the another one as well. So that is one thing. So they are saying that it can be a temporary, because obviously this is kind of a habit, they will get bored of it and they will leave it. Okay, so that is one thing. Once juvenile orcas learn a new behavior, they tend to keep repeating it much like a toddler. So we have already talked about it. Now orcas are attacking the boat. Okay, since they are angry, they are attacking the boat. Now why this must have happened? Because again, this can also be a behavioral phenomena, that because of these boats or the anthropogenic activities which are happening because of the boats over here, if one or two orcas might have a traumatizing experience with these boats, then they might started the attacking them, and the other one has the pick up the behavior. Okay, so these are the two you can say behaviors which has been talked about them. So that is one thing, either they are playing with it, either they are attacking it. Okay, so that is normally around, you can say, like a human behavior only. Okay, if we like something, we tend to repeat it, and if something is threatening us, so we try to fight back. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now please remember that the name of this particular species, orcas, they are found in this particular area of state of Gibraltar. Okay, it is connecting your Atlantic with the Mediterranean. One thing. Second thing is, these are also known as the killer whales. Okay, and they belong to the dolphin family, and these animals are not basically, you can say very attacking, or you can say aggressive. Okay, but this behavior is has been seen recently, and these are intelligent and curious. So these things you can remember from this particular article, and please know the location of Strait of Gibraltar. Okay, now moving further, next article. Consistent, coordinated evolution and the essentials of the India's climate policy. Okay, since 1990s, well, if we start the journey since 1972, when the first summit has happened with respect to the environment, you know that after that the sustainable development concept has come, all these things has started to happen after 1972. But in 1992, 20 years after this particular summit, there was a Earth Summit that was called Rio Earth Summit, that is 1992. Now that is you can say watershed movement when we are talking about the environmental policies, etc. From that particular time, what has started to change is that people started to take this issue seriously. We started to talk about sustainable development, but again, there is a divide between the Western countries and the developing countries, or you can say developed countries and the developing countries. Developing countries are doing their part. Western countries or the developed countries are basically you can say are very enthusiastic when it is about the, you can say, role of developing countries in the fight against the climate change. But when it comes to them, they take a backseat. Okay. So that has started. So recently, today we will be talking about, we will be focusing on the India's climate policy. We will see why it is necessary for us and what we are trying to do right now. Okay. So since 1990s, the time when the great change has happened in India and the world, which led to forging of the new policies with respect to the environment. Rio Earth Summit 1992 saw the emergence of the United Nations Framework Convention on the Climate Change, UNFCCC, and then second is Convention of the on the Biological Diversity, that is UNCBD. Okay, then there are these forest principle which has been seen during that particular time, and that is 1992 Earth Summit. Okay, after that we have also come up with the ministry, etc. So that is why it becomes important for us. Then over exploitation of the resources by the developed world. Okay, now we have seen that mostly the industrial revolution has started in the developed world. Okay, when we are talking about the USA, England, Russia, these are the area, France, these are the area where the industrial revolution started. But the thing is, they have actually contributed to the emission more and more. But the thing is, when we are talking about the fight against the climate change, they are not very enthusiastic about it. Okay, So climate change is the result of the excessive unsustainable production and the consumption pattern by the developed countries. Between 1970 and 2017, developed countries with only 16% of the world population have used 74% of excess resources over their fair share. Okay, so basically we can say that they have used the natural resources disproportionately. This fact can be important for you, so please remember that. Then second, when we are talking about the remaining 58 countries including India, or you can say the developing countries, they have nearly 3.6 billion population and they have stayed within the sustainability limits, because we did not have that kind of exploitatory resource, or you can say technology, to go for such things. So we have stayed in the sustainability limit. We have not gone for that much of the emission at that point of time. So ultimately still we are paying the more for it, okay, because developing countries and the island nations are paying the cost of the climate change, okay, because and that all these things were happening because of the developed countries, which they have actually gone for the industrialization at that point of time. Okay, now 5 major determinants of the India's climate policy. So when we are talking about the climate policy of any country, these determinants are equally workable, but when we are talking about right now this article, we will be talking about India only. Okay, so we will talk about geography, we will talk about the population, we will talk about the world view, we will talk about impact and the actions which are taken. Okay, now first talk about the geography. We know that India has an area of 3.28 million square kilometer, that is nearly 2.4% of the world area. Okay, that we have 2.4% of the world area. Okay, and we have 4% of the world's fresh water. Okay, and we are 17th largest country when we are talking about the size. Okay, and it is one of the 17 mega biodiversity countries, and we have 4 biodiversity hotspots. You know that one is your Western Ghat, second is your Himalayan region, then we have the northeast and the Andaman area, that is basically you can say our 4 hotspot zones. Okay, then we have 10 biogeographic zones and 22 agro biodiversity hotspots. So that kind of diversity India hosts when we are talking about the environment and the ecology. Okay, 6 different seasons we have encountered in a year. Okay, our civilization has made a harmony with the different seasons. We have our economic practice, our political practices, our you can say cultural practices are in line with these seasons, but because of the climate change, now there are extreme events which are happening, and now we have lost the harmony between these seasons and the civilization. Okay, so that is kind of impact we are facing because of the activities of the West. Okay, so that is about this particular thing, that is geography. Then comes to the population. We have a population that is 1.4 billion people. Okay, and 1/6 of the humanity. It is home to 7 to 8% of the recorded species of the world. Okay, people's population, as well as when we are talking about the biodiversity, we have 7 to 8% of the species which are recorded. Okay, so that is also an important fact. The human to land ratio is very low, that is 0.0021 square kilometers, and we need to understand, we need an understanding and integrated management of land and water, because we have a lot of population and resources are limited, and we are going through a time that is a time of climate change and which is impacting our lifestyle. Then impacts. Now the global climate risk index 2020 puts India as the 5th most affected country by the extreme weather events. Recently you must have heard that there are heat waves going on in India because of the kind of summers we are facing right now. 2023 was the hottest year which has been encountered, and we will see what happens in the 2024 as well. But as of now we can say that everywhere we are seeing heat waves. Okay, we have seen forest fire before time, we have seen extreme events like when droughts, we have seen floods in certain areas, we have seen glacial lake outbursts. All these things are happening. Okay, India is the 5th most affected country by the extreme weather event. In 2018, World Bank report predicted that rising temperature and the changing monsoon rainfall patterns could impact the GDP by 2.8%. Okay, so that is the economic cost we are talking about here. Okay, now coming to the world view here. So we are basically a country which has this you can say civilization which goes with the harmony between the anthropogenic activities as well as the environment. Okay, so we are one living in the harmony with the consonance with the nature. Gandhi has said that we have ideas of trusteeship. We have said that there is enough for the need of a person but not for the greed All these things Western world should also realize. Now actions, when we are talking about, so our actions are shaped by science based on evidence. Despite the historical cumulative emission of less than 4%, 1.9 tons of the carbon dioxide per capita emission, and the strong climate actions we have taken. You must have seen that when we are talking about the nationally determined goals. Okay, so we are doing very good on that front even. Okay, so we are having strong climate actions, that is unlike the developed countries, because when I told you, they see which shows the enthusiasm for the climate action for everyone but themselves. Now evolution of the climate policy. India's climate policy is informed by the inclusive growth for all-round economic and the social development, eradicating poverty, declining carbon budget, adhering to the UNFCCC foundational principle, and climate-friendly lifestyle. So these are basic phenomena. These are basic factors that we are, when we are talking about the climate action, we are talking about the inclusive growth, we are talking about the development, we are talking about the poverty eradication, we are talking about the carbon budgeting, all these things, okay, which are in the line with the UNFCCC's foundational principles. Okay, we have these 3 C's, that is clear, consistent, and the coordinated policy. And recently there were 2 more C's which has been added, that is your confidence. Okay, and there is one more thing, so we will talk about that. So basically, when we are talking about our vision, that is clear, consistent, and coordinated, climate change is the result of over exploitation by the natural resources by the developed countries. A strong voice of global south, which India has actually started to, you can say, represent the voice of global south when we are talking about the G20 summit or otherwise also. Okay, main force behind the common but differentiated responsibility and the respective capabilities. So this is the principle we are also giving a push, that is common but differentiated responsibility. Okay, now confidence and the convenient action, that is the 2 C's which has been basically added recently. That is reflection in the confidence building. Global institutes like International Solar Alliances, we have talked about it in our previous sessions. International Solar Alliance, Coalition for the Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, and the Global Biofuel Alliances. Okay, so these are certain, when we are talking about the development and the environment, they are, you know, different sides of the same coin. Okay, so ultimately we have to go hand in hand when we are talking about the environment and the development. Okay, so that is the concept of sustainable development. So these are our climate policy related some you know, factors which are basically shaping the climate policy of India. Okay, now moving further, in this article, India will regulate AI but without compromising on innovation. Okay, so this is very simple thing that is not important from your prelims point of view, but in the mains you can take a way forward out of it, that we are, you know, we want to regulate AI but not at the cost of the innovation and the R&D. Okay, so here you can say government will attempt to regulate artificial intelligence but not in a way that could stifle the innovation in the space, to take a middle path for AI regulations. Okay, okay, so we are saying that we will take a middle path. How we will take a middle path? As per the Data Protection Act. Okay, so there was this Data Protection Act, and in that particular act what we have taken is that we have taken the consideration or the concern of the personal data of people or the citizens, as well as we have gone for the protection of the, you can say, industry as well. Okay, we have said that we will generate a capacity. Okay, we will go, when we are talking about the computing, all these things, we will generate a computing capacity with the help of government as well as the private players, and then we will rent it to the small startup ecosystem for their use, because it is very expensive as a technology, so they cannot go for building it on their own. But the thing is, if government and the private sector build the capacity, and they can rent it to the small infrastructure of startups, so that they can move ahead with that. Okay, so that is the similarly we will go for similar thing we will do for the AI as well. We will go for the concerns, we will address the concern, but we will not put a blanketed ban on it. We will go for a regulation of it, wherein we will address the concern, and then we will provide a safe harbor to the research and development, to the innovation with respect to science and tech. Okay, so that is what you can take it out of it. If you want, you can read this article, but I would suggest that this first para and these 2 paras are quite important for you. Okay, now moving further, Sunak faces cabinet revolt over plan to scrap key visa route for Indian students. So when we are talking about studying abroad, so there is this particular, you can say, when we are talking about the various countries, there are various visa rules. Okay, When we are talking about UK specifically, so if you go to UK today on student visa, okay, let's say there is a course of 2 years, that is your masters is there, and that is of 2 years. Okay, after 2 years you can stay there for additional 2 years. Okay, and in that time you can work over here. Okay, on this particular student visa, you will go there for your course, and after the completion of the course you can stay there for 2 years and earn some money over here. Okay, so that is basically a policy as of now, and the Sunak government, they are trying to scrap it. Okay, even there are various leaders in their own government, they are not in favor of this particular thing, because these student visas or the students from abroad, they generate a kind of revenue over it. When we are talking about Indians, the overall visas, if we talk about the overall visa, 42% visas are given to Indians. Okay, so it will impact Indians first of all. Second thing is that when we are talking about the revenue generation, their own universities are not generating that much revenue, and they are basically, that compensation is done by these students which are going from abroad. They are studying in UK. Okay, so that is why he is facing some kind of revolt from their own leaders. So that is there. Here you can see the graduate route visa, graduate route or the student visa. Graduate route visa, a key migration route by the Indians, allow graduate to stay on in UK and work for up to 2 years after their degree is completed. Okay, and they have said that there is this particular independent panel. They have said that these particular visa norms are not being abused. Okay, so there is a panel, there is a committee which they have scrutinized this whole situation, and they have said that they are not abusing it, because obviously they are coming here studying, they are spending a lot of money, and then they are earning for 2 years and they are going back to their own country. Okay, so they are not being abused. But the thing is, Sunak government is talking a lot about the migration, legal as well as illegal, and that is why he is trying to scrap it. Okay, here, but with the election around the corner, Sunak government sees curbing the high level legal as well as illegal migration as priorities. Okay, so that is about this particular article. Please, you can go through this particular explained part, that is enough for you. Okay, now moving further. So chopper crash in Iran, President Raisi is missing. Search operations are on, but recently just before this live session, we have got this news that he might be dead. Okay, so that is situation right now. Why we are talking about this particular leader is that he is a quite prominent, popular, as well as you can say a strong leader in Iran when we are talking about. Okay, so it was said that after you can say the recent supreme leader, okay, so there are chances that he will be he could have been the successor. Right now when we are talking about the supreme leader, that is Ayatollah Khamenei. Okay, so now there was speculations that he might have been the next leader when we are talking about Iran. Okay, talk about Raisi. Raisi was 63 years old hardliner who formerly led the country's judiciary. Okay, he was protege of Ayatollah, and some analysts have suggested that he could replace 85 years old leader, and after his death or the resignation after the role. Raisi won Iran's 2021 presidential election. Raisi is sanctioned by the USA. Raisi is sanctioned by US in part over his involvement in the mass execution which has happened in 1988. Other than that, when we are talking about the recent activities, you must have heard that Iran is enriching uranium nearly to the weapon grade. They are saying that if need be, they will go for the nuclear weapon. Okay, other than that, it hampers international inspection by the authorities which has been there, and Iran has armed Russia in its war in Ukraine. They have launched a massive drone and missile attack on Israel recently, which we have already talked about in the previous sessions. Okay, against Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and continued arming proxy groups in the Mid East like Yemen's Houthi rebels and the Lebanon's Hezbollah. Now these two are quite prominent and important for you, so please remember that. Okay, so that is about this article. We will take up another article about this in the next let's say if there was something in the explain section or something, so we will keep a tab on that. Okay, now moving further. First Indian space tourist to take off on the Blue Origin rocket. When we are talking about this Blue Origin rocket, you know that it is a private company or a private rocket owned by Amazon's Jeff Bezos. Okay, so there is this particular person. Hold on. Okay. So the name of that particular pilot or the space tourist is Gopi Thotakura. Okay, so please remember this name. They might ask you in some examination or maybe in the PCS etc. And nowadays UPSC is also going for untouched topics like sports and personality. So they might ask you this as well. Okay, he became the first Indian to venture into space as a tourist. Okay, there are various Indians which has gone to space. Okay, but the thing is he ventured into space as a tourist on board on the Amazon founder Jeff Bezos rocket company, that is Blue Origin. Okay, so that is important from this particular article. There was another you can say a tourist, Ed Dwight. He was American, 90 years old American, and he becomes the first black astronaut candidate who finally rocketed into space after 60 years. Okay, so that is about this particular article. Just remember the name, that is Gopi Thotakura. Now for your own read, there is this article which is related to Egyptian pyramids. Okay, these are quite prominent, and this article is related that how these pyramids are in between the desert and how these big rocks has been transported to that part. So after research, it was found that there was this you can say a branch of Nile river which was present there in that particular area, and that got extinct. Okay, and through which these small big rocks has been transported over here. But still these this is amazing that after even the transportation with the help of Nile river, but again they have put all these rocks in a precise location. So again they are still astonishing figures of architecture. So you can go through sorry, this article and you can read it. Okay, so now moving to the last part. Before that, this map is important for you. UPSC has tendency to ask rivers from Africa and Latin America. I mean, sorry, not Latin America, the South America. Okay, so please remember the rivers of these two continents. Now, last part, that is practice question for prelims, that is Nile river does not pass through which of the following given country? Uganda, Ethiopia, Congo and Sudan. Now, what you can do is that you can go through this particular map and answer this particular question. Other than that, if you have any idea about Africa's geography, you might be able to answer this question. Okay, with that, I would like to take your leave. Okay, so have a good day and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.